Follow along, Catholic pilgrims, as we follow French doctor of the Church, St. Francis de Sales, through his book, Introduction to the Devout Life. Tune in as we read through this practical guide for living out the Catholic faith well. Season 4, we have arrived, Catholic pilgrims. I'm very excited for this year together. Well, not quite a year, so I guess I should say our journey through Introduction to the Devout Life. So why this book? Well, around January of 2023, when I was just getting ready to start reading St. Teresa of Avila's book, The Interior Castle, I was already pretty sure who I wanted to read the following season. And Thomas à Kempis kept popping up on my radar, and I committed fully to reading his work, Imitations of Christ. Then around October, when I announced to my followers that I was going to read Thomas à Kempis's work, people started sharing with me that over on the Hallow app, Jim Caviezel, however you say his last name, was reading Imitations of Christ. And lots of people told me that they were already reading it through Hallow, and so I felt a bit deflated. I mean, I'm a big, huge Hallow fan. I just can't compete with Jim Caviezel. So I told my daughter about my dilemma, and she suggested that I read St. Francis de Sales' book, Introduction to the Devout Life. And she said that the book is all the rage with young Catholics. And so I was like, well, okay. And the funny thing is that I already had that book because I had been toying with reading it for season 2. However, in season 2, Fulton Sheen's book won out. So I picked up Introduction to the Devout Life and I started looking through it again, and I loved the practical wisdom within the pages. We've read 2 mystics so far in my podcast, that being St. Faustina and St. Teresa of Avila, and I thought it might be nice to just have some practical ways to live out our Catholic faith for this go-round. And with that, I committed to reading St. Francis de Sales. Now, what I found is that most people don't know a lot about him. I don't know too much. And sometimes it's more of a exploration expedition to take the works of lesser known saints and learn from them. So much is going to be fresh and new to us. And if you've struggled reading the mystics, I think you will find St. Francis's writing to be much easier to comprehend and apply to daily life. And that's the thing with his writings. They were written some 400 years ago, but they speak to us today, showing that truth is timeless and wisdom never ages. So, who is St. Francis de Sales? Well, he was born August 21st, 1567, in the Kingdom of Savoy, which was near Geneva, Switzerland. He was from a noble family and had a good upbringing and a good education. He was living in the midst of the Protestant Revolution, and so much of his work was correcting the heresies of Calvinism, because Calvinism was kind of centralized in Switzerland, and it was him trying to bring back Catholics that had gotten swept up in the Protestant Revolution. In 1602, he became the Bishop of Geneva, and to gain a better understanding of who he was as a priest and a bishop, I want to read a short excerpt from the introduction to the book. Quote, "If ever there was a priestly soul, it was that of St. Francis de Sales. His life was stainless. His character was balanced. His intellectual gifts were of a high order, his mental vision clear, his fancy playful, his imagination creative, his learning extensive. His love of God burned like a poetic flame. It was tender and childlike. It was the very breath of his apostolate. With an almost feminine tenderness, he loved all men, and because he loved them, he wished all to know and to love God. But he was strong. In his strength, he was tolerant of men's weaknesses, of their peculiarities, their narrow views, their whims, their oddities, their ill-founded judgments, their inconsistencies, and their faults, provided only these did not essentially interfere with their solemn obligations towards God." Unquote. And about the book we are getting ready to read, the introduction says, quote, Philothea is addressed, as we have said, to every rank and class of society, to the religious, the priest, the nun, the artisan, to the widow, the mother, the bride. Few other books teach the lessons of the gospel with the same authority and charm, and are so eminently practical. Unquote. St. Francis de Sales died on December 28th, 1622 in Lyons, France. He is a doctor of the Church, and he was canonized on April 19th, 1665. His feast day is January 24th, and he is the patron saint of Catholic writers, the Catholic press, the deaf, journalists, and adult education. As a Catholic writer myself, I feel like I am definitely going to benefit from learning from him. Now, the big question is, how is this year going to work? Well, I have good news for all you organized people out there who love to have a checklist. I created a reading plan for this book, and it has the ability to mark it off as we go. I will provide a link in the show notes to the reading plan, and I will pin it on my Catholic Pilgrim Facebook page. And if for some reason you're struggling to find it or whatever, email me. I'll also put my Catholic Pilgrim email address in the show notes. I will also provide an affiliate link to Tan Books so that you can purchase the book if you haven't already, and it makes sure that you get the right one. So on the reading plan, you can see that it is my goal to have 3 episodes drop each week. So I've got my work cut out for me. Please pray for me. Each episode, I will read 1 chapter. Some are incredibly short, some are a bit longer, but no matter what, the whole chapter will be read in an episode. Then I will offer a short reflection on how we can apply this reading to our modern 21st century lives. I think you will find that we definitely can. I will try to make the episodes as reasonably short as possible, as I know everyone is busy and I'm not the only podcast that you listen to. So, with all that said, I'm really excited to read this book with you and learn from it. It's going to bless us abundantly. I just know it. And so I will see you back here really soon for chapter 1 of the first part. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.